Hey everyone, welcome to Snap Take. Like and sub for the best Marvel Snap Takes every single weekday. It is Friday. This is the last of the week. That also means it's your last chance to win either that Hitmonkey Season Pass or Token Tuesday. All you have to do is be subbed, hit like on the video, and tell me what you think the best deck in the meta is right now. I'm real curious. I love Patch Week. I love trying to figure this stuff out. That's kind of what most of the videos this week have been. Monday, our boy Wesley Seek, maker of my favorite decks, dropped his new Thanos deck. Unless something crazy happens, we're going to talk about that. In addition, in the Snap Battle tournament, I'm going to be commenting a couple of rounds. So if you have the chance to check them out on Twitch, I will drop the way to find them in the description to this video. Thanks for the support. Appreciate y'all. So today I want to talk about discard. Yesterday I talked about Sarah Surfer. I hit infinite with Sarah Surfer. Um, the other T1 A level deck on Untapped yesterday was discard. Now, as you can see from the screen in front of you, there's a bunch of things joining it. Discard still has one of the highest win rates here, right after Darkhawk, after Darkhawk and Patriot. And it does, however, have the lowest cube rate, and I think there's a big problem with discard. I think discard is probably a B plus deck. It's probably in the B tier, despite its numbers being really strong at the start of the season. I think a lot of that is because, well, it's it's experiment season, and I think discard is really good in experiment season. I think once things settle, discard gets worse. Discard will always have sort of a lower win and cube rate, and I think a lot of the reasons for that are a lot of the same reasons that I don't really enjoy Galactus. I'm not saying don't play Galactus. I'm not saying don't play discard. I'm explaining to you what I think the problem is. So this video was really pushed to the front of my mind by this deck. Esto es muy fuerte by, and I'm not going to try and say that, the Dr. Games X, phenomenal person over on Twitter to follow. Tagged us, was like, you got to try this. This is strong against Sandman, Control, and most other decks. If you face Galactus, you run, but you can compete with anything else. And that's true. But Conquest mode is coming, and my mind is working on that. Now, I'm going to tell you what crystallized this. I've been listening to the Snapshot. If you're not listening to the Snapshot, hey, I consume a lot of Marvel Snap content. I know you don't have all that time. I appreciate you supporting me. But we're a smaller channel, so I'm assuming you listen to a couple of the bigger ones too. And if you don't, extra love. Thanks so much. Okay, so over here on the Snapshot, right in this conversation, KM Best and Moyen were apparently testing against each other in battle mode. And KM Best gives this example about how his opponent recognized if he had Modoc versus if he had some other card, how the game would play out. Or sorry, if he had whatever, one card or the other, um things would work out within the favor of Moyen versus Cambes, right? Like if he plays the tier 1 play, Moyen plays the tier 2 play and just beats him. If Cambes plays the tier 2 play, Moyen can answer with his own tier 2 follow up. But like it's a very complicated back and forth at that point, right? Each opponent has to read each other and figure out how good they are and which way they're outplaying each other. To which Moyen responds at this point on the podcast, sure, but it's an unfair situation in my favor because you had played Modoc the turn before. I knew exactly what 2 or 3 cards you had in hand. There was no question. And I think that's what my big problem with this deck is. This deck is sweet. Let's be clear. Iceman can run game plans. Morbius gets huge. Colleen Wing on 2 is either a 2/4 that then makes 2 0/3/3s, which is 2/10, right? Or 2/8 if it just chucks Wolverine. Well, that's just all phenomenal, right? Apocalypse is often like 20 power. 5/8 for Modoc is a great number. Dracula ends up being a 4/20, and then you end up playing a 6/9. All sorts of stuff, right? You accidentally discard the wrong thing. Ghost Rider takes care of that nonsense for you. This deck has quite a bit of everything. It seems so strong, except that for it to really work, for it to go off, for it to be a tier 1 deck, and look at this win rate. Look at these numbers. That's completely bonkers, right? Remember, early in the season, infinite people aren't playing super optimally, and No one quite knows what they're doing yet. People are experimenting. Great. So, but on turn 5, for this deck to go off, you have to play Modoc. And Moyen told us this. Moyen was very clear. Once you've played Modoc, I know what you have. I know what you can do. And if you don't play Modoc, you've been playing cards like, if you didn't see Modoc, that meant you were playing cards like Swordmaster, right? You're playing Lady Sif. I know exactly what you have and don't have. If you're Lady Sifing without Apocalypse in your hand, bet you you're going to Ghost Rider, right? If you're chucking your Modoc, bet you you're planning on Ghost Riding. If you are sword mastering and chucking Morbius, right? Like this deck becomes really linear and predictable. It's competing really, really well for two lanes. It's putting a lot of power in two lanes, but it's doing so in a predictable, linear manner, which means your opponent can either A, have a hard counter. Cosmo, where you're obviously going to Modoc, often ruins this deck's whole life. Um, an Enchantress will wreck this. Sometimes stuff like Devil Dino can just read which lane and how much power just by doing the basic math of how many cards in hand and Modoc, counting the difference between which of those two cards it could be, and then saying, okay, the 9 will be here. This deck fundamentally tells your opponent at around turn 5, here's how much power I'm going to put down. If you snap before 5, I can all but guarantee you have Modoc. Almost always. If you snap before turn 5, I can then sit there and say, here's what I've got in my hand. Here's what I need to be able to beat. That makes climbing tough. It especially makes winning games in Conquest hard. But even on the ladder, if you're playing really good opponents, if you've got a high MMR, they're gonna be able to do the math and just run when they need to. Not saying this deck isn't strong. I'm saying that predictability to me keeps it a tier below the very best of the game. I think it's important to note that Red Skull Shuri feels the same way. Red Skull Shuri gives you those 2 turns of like, here's exactly what it is. But if it's not fully set up, you often had to go, what's that last turn going to be? Is it going to be Captain Marvel? Are they going to try and pass in She Hulk? Are they going to play a few smaller cards? I lost most cubes to Shuri Zero when they would play like a Lizard and a Zero, and then like a Polaris on the last turn. I'd just be like, well, crap. I wasn't actually ready to compete that wide. That variability on the last turn is present in this deck. It's not invisible in this deck, right? But it's so much harder to pull off because you're weakening your cards like Morbius and Dracula, which are your game winners, so much by trying to compete that way. I think that this deck is very good, but its linear nature stops it from being great. That's today's Snap Take, but I'm not done yet because weekend's coming. I want to look at what's been going good right now. So, first, I'm curious about deck popularity. This is a new meta. We have a lot happening. I want to know what's being played. So, in the tier 1 decks, what's being played, you're going to expect to see Patriot a fair amount. Patriot's really strong right now. That's fine. The other tier 1 deck that's being seen above, well, anything that's being seen even at a reasonably high level is Darkhawk. If Darkhawk and Patriot, and just so you know, reminder, I'm looking from 70 to 100 plus and at full collection. So if that's not you, you might be looking at a different meta. But if you're looking at this meta, like Sarah Control isn't even very played right now. You've got a decent percentage, right? Like you combine these two, you're at 13% of the meta. Run Enchantress. Like what these two cards being so heavily played means is that Enchantress right now is in a phenomenal spot. What else can we learn? Let's scroll down and see what else is played. Holy shit, Electro Ramp is being played 15% of the time. Okay, if Electro Ramp is being played 15% of the time, well, you're going to be seeing Sandman, right? It's amazingly, crazily impressive that Sarah Control is still up here with the most played deck right now. Like you can scroll down all you want. The most played deck right now being this Sandman Ramp. And we're still finding the right version of this. This deck is real hard to beat. This is the most popular version right now. Sandman Ramp is really, really crazy powerful. Again, Enchantress is solid. See the cards that Enchantress shuts down? It's really, really solid. Um, but this deck is I'm assuming going to keep climbing as it gets refined into the A tier. It's already not far off at all. It's got a higher win rate, just needs to get its cube rate up because a lot of people see Sandman and run. So that'll keep a cube rate down. But the level of consistency. The other deck seeing a lot of play is Galactus. Galactus should not be seeing this level of play right now, is my argument. You'll note I don't have two Galactus cards. I don't like Galactus. I have no interest in playing Galactus. But if we scroll up, right, let's take a look at the tier 1 decks and see what they can do to Galactus. Sarah Surfer, the version that I hit Infinite with, has Goose. Goose ruins Galactus' day. Has Juggernaut with Priority, ruins Galactus' day. And has Polaris, can ruin Galactus' day. That's 3 different ways to make Galactus such a sad, sad card. Okay, what else are we seeing a lot of? Patriot. This version of Patriot runs Debris. I run Debris and Cosmo in mine, but Debris basically says, cool, you want to play into me? Have rocks in all the lanes. Now, where are you playing Galactus? You want to start running Killmonger and unoptimally playing because you have to Killmonger on a turn when you should be playing like Electro or Wave? Cool. I should be able to grab enough power, then grab enough control. Sarah has very little answer, but we established Sarah answers other decks. This is such a cool Sarah build. Really love it. Think it should be running the Kitty Goose over, honestly, probably Lizard. I'd probably also be running Bast, and I'd flip something else out. But it should be running those 2 cards, largely because Bast is just such a huge power spike, and then Goose stops that Galactus. Darkhawk is one of the few decks that can still get bigger than Galactus. Cosmo ruins Galactus' life, and having 1,000 rocks in their deck makes it really hard for them to draw all of their combo pieces. Doomwave has Arrow in it. So does Deathwave. Deathwave has not risen to this level yet, but it's still real good. Iceman is also a card that will randomly mess up a ramp plan. Zabu Dino, I think, is crazy that's this hard. I don't think that actually literally registered with me till now. But Zabu Dino is pretty strong. My favorite thing in the world to do is read where they're going to Galactus, if they're going to Galactus on 5, and just drop a Professor X on their face. This also has Polaris to answer that. It also has Daredevil, so you have literally no doubt you should never be losing cubes. And discard is terrible as Galactus. But that's basically all of Tier 1 that has strong answers for Galactus. However, it's also very little of Tier 1. I guess Patriot can beat Sandman because Ultron is great. We'll see if Onslaught remains the last card in this deck, or whether it becomes Doom in order to have extra play against that Sandman deck. Your Doom being so much bigger than theirs should be real nice. Sarah Control just loses to the Sandman deck, but Darkhawk, Zabu Dino, and Doomwave all have real plays, real ways to win against that Sandman deck. They're playing 1 card a turn, you're playing 1 card a turn. If your cards counter theirs, it's at best a 50-50 match for them, right? And Dino should be bigger than anything they have. I think that's really interesting. I think the meta is in a really interesting place. I'm worried that it's going to settle into Darkhawk, Doomwave, and Sandman with a side of Patriot, but that's not where we are right now. Where we are right now is really fun and really interesting, and I think there's a lot of things you can be doing to win a lot of cubes. Be very careful if you're planning on playing discard. As I said earlier, the higher MMR, the better plays you place, the harder it is to win more cubes. The deck is linear and predictable. Remember, if you found value in this video, like and sub. In addition to that, just tell me which of these decks you think is the best in today's video. Just leave it in the comments. I'll put all the names on a list. I'm going to draw. A winner is going to be announced Monday. That winner will get in contact with me. I'll give you guys away. And then you'll either choose between the Hitmonkey Season Pass or Token Tuesday. Also, do me a favor. I'm going to be giving away a Nebula Season Pass. If you get a friend to sub either here or on Twitter at SnapJudgeCast, you will get 5 entries into that Season Pass giveaway for 2 weeks from now, that Nebula Season Pass. you think that's something interesting, if you watch this long, I didn't say this at the beginning on purpose. This is for people who are willing to get a friend to join who watch whole videos. I really appreciate the support. I hope everyone has an awesome day, and I'll see you Monday for another Snap Take.